We've just had a big new update for the Blackmagic camera app, taking us to 3.0. And this is for iPhone and for Android. But this isn't just your regular old camera app update, because Blackmagic are giving you 10 LUTs for free to download. And as well, there might be a little clue that Blackmagic are going to be making anamorphic lenses for smartphones. To find out why, watch this video. So some of these updates are for both systems, some are for iOS, some are for Android, and some are for both, but they work slightly differently. But let's just go through all the updates. The camera selector and zoom slider are now combined into a single control interface. So if I tap the camera selector button in my Samsung S24 Ultra, you can see that I now have all 6 cameras to choose from. 2 front cameras and 4 rear cameras. And I can use the zoom slider for all 6 cameras. But if I zoom in, it's only going to go as far as the selected camera allows. But if I enable auto at the top, the camera selector is grayed out. And now you can use the zoom slider to zoom in, and it's going to automatically change lenses to choose the appropriate focal length. And if you want to reset to 1x, just tap the reset button at the top, which is by the auto button. And the app actually allows you to record video and switch through the rear lenses in this way. At the bottom, we have the Dolly Zoom control. And this allows you to create an automatic zoom. So you could use this just for zooming in smoothly, or you can use it for shooting a dolly zoom. So you can just tap that to enable. Above, you now have the magnification strength. So we've got 1x, 2x, 4x, and so on. Tap below to select the duration of the zoom. And by default, it's 1 second. Now, on my iPhone 16 Pro, the control is exactly the same, except there is no auto option, so you can only zoom in within the range of each lens, and you can't record and switch between the lenses as you can with the Android version. I did find that the Dolly Zoom feature is a little bit glitchy on my Samsung. It's not particularly smooth. Also, the whole app is a little bit delayed. It doesn't work as smoothly, so when you first open it up, it takes a few seconds for it to sort of configure itself. And when you change settings as well, it quite often takes a little pause. The app now has these 3 customizable function buttons. So you can set these to whatever kind of settings that you want to just be able to set with a tap of the button, so that you don't have to keep going into all the various settings to find certain things. You can set it to switch to 24 frames per second, so that you can just tap the button and it will go to that frame rate without having to swipe through all the different frame rate settings. And there's all kinds of others as well. To open the F buttons, you can just tap on the 3 dots. With Android, you can also swipe on the screen to open and close them. Now, if you don't see these 3 dots on the right side of the preview, then you need to enable them in the settings. So tap the settings cog and find the functions button page and then toggle it on. And here you can choose what you want each F button to do. You can set an F button to a preset setting. So for example, like I say, you could set it to switch to 24 frames per second when you tap on it, or you could set it to a particular lens or a particular shutter speed, an ISO setting, or a white balance setting. Alternatively, you can set an F button to toggle a feature on and off. So you could use it to switch autofocus on and off, auto exposure on and off, which is probably quite a useful one. And we've got, auto white balance, zebra overlay, focus assist overlay, grids, and actually there's many more things here. There's, a pretty long list of features to choose from. Now, if you tap this LUT button, which is below the camera picker button, you're going to open the LUT Picker kind of slider here. And the app now offers us some preset LUTs. But these do work a little bit differently for Android and iPhone. So tap the button and you're going to find any LUTs that you have installed, plus a bunch of other LUTs or preset color filters. As before, you can use these LUTs for preview, or you can record video with the LUT burned in. And you can actually also choose which of these LUTs appear in the list. So open settings, go to LUTs, and then tap on LUT Manager. Here you can toggle on and off all your LUTs, including any LUTs that you've installed yourself. So you can choose which of the new LUTs you want in your list and any of the installed LUTs that you want. And here you can also choose to record the LUT to your video but if you don't burn in the LUT, then the video that you record is not going to have the LUT applied. In the iPhone, you have separate LUTs for each of the 4 color spaces. So Rec 709, Rec 2020, P3, D65, and Apple Log. In Android, all the LUTs are going to be Rec 709. But what if you don't want to record the LUT onto your video, and instead you want to apply it later when you're editing? So you can actually do that. So make sure the record LUT to video is toggled off. And there's actually 2 ways to do this. So the first one is under the settings, as we just saw. And the second one is the button under the list of LUTs in the main screen. And if this button is blue, that means the LUT will be burned in. Now let's say that we choose the day for night LUT, and then we record a few seconds of video. If we now open this clip in the media gallery, we also see it with the LUT used. But if we send this to our computer, we're now going to see that the LUT is not baked in. So how do we apply this LUT that's, in the app? Well, Blackmagic kindly allows you to download the LUTs from the app. So go back into settings and then LUTs. And at the bottom, you can see that we have a download LUT option. So if we tap that, we can now select the LUT that we want to download. In the iPhone, you're going to get the LUT for the color space that the app is currently set to. So if we have the app set to Rec 2020, we're going to get all the Rec 2020 LUTs to choose from to download. And if we set the app to Rec 709, we're going to get all the Rec 709 versions of the LUT. And if we set it to Apple Log, we're going to get those, and so on. So not only do we get an update here, but we actually get a bunch of free LUTs that we can download and then install into our editing system. So why do we need LUTs for each color space? Well, that's because that's how LUTs actually work. They're not really general color filters, they're actually specifically designed to go from space A to space B. So if we want LUTs for your Apple Log, for example, then they need to be designed for Apple Log. And as I say, Blackmagic have kindly given you 10 free Apple Log LUTs now. So let's download Day for Night for Apple Log, and then we're going to import it into DaVinci Resolve. And there we are. We can now apply this LUT to any Apple Log clips to create a day for night look. For Android, on my Samsung S24 Ultra, I have the BT 2020 color space, but I don't believe the LUTs work in this space. They just, to my eyes, they just look off. And when you go to download the LUTs, there's no BT 2020 option. So I suspect that these are just Rec 709 LUTs. With the 3.0 update, you can now access the time-lapse controls without having to go into settings. So you just tap the frame rate, and then at the bottom, you now have a time-lapse button. Enable that, and you can choose the interval. OpenGate recording has become a little bit of a recent trend, and this means that you can use the maximum sensor area with the OpenGate resolution. The Blackmagic 3.0 update includes OpenGate recording for iPhones only. So go to Settings, Record and Resolution, and then choose OpenGate. Now on my iPhone 16 Pro, this option is only available in Rec 709, but the new iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max are going to allow Apple Log in OpenGate as well. The 3.0 update brings us live streaming in the app. Live streaming on iOS is currently limited to streaming via Blackmagic Cloud only, but Android users get live streaming support to Twitch, YouTube, and Vimeo as well. So this means iPhone users can broadcast live to Blackmagic's own cloud service, but possibly they're going to add streaming platforms later in future iOS updates. So you're going to find live streaming in the settings under a new live streaming tab. So another new feature is remote clip syncing. And this is going to make your life a bit easier if you use more than one phone to film at the same time. So if you're shooting a video with 2 or more phones and you use the Blackmagic app to control them all from one phone, which, that will be the controller. In the past, you had to get the videos off each phone separately afterwards. But now, with the remote clip syncing, you can wirelessly copy all the videos from those phones straight onto the main phone so that you're going to have everything in one place remotely, and then you don't need to go through each phone getting the files individually. So it's just going to save you a bit of time and effort, and it means you don't have to worry about losing or forgetting any clips. You just press a button and all the footage is going to come to your phone automatically. For the iPhone, we now have a new 2.0 anamorphic desqueeze setting. And I'm not exactly sure what this is for, but I'm going to have a bit of a guess. So if you select this, you get an extreme widescreen desqueeze, which is wider than what you get with the 1.33 and the 1.55 settings. So that would suggest that this is for a 2.0 ratio anamorphic. So anamorphic 2.0 lenses do exist, just not for smartphones. So this suggests that Blackmagic know that a company is about to bring out a 2.0 anamorphic for smartphones, or maybe they are going to bring out a 2.0 anamorphic for iPhones. Because the other thing is they've only added this 2.0 update for the iPhone, and on the Android you're not going to get this anamorphic 2.0. So if there is a 2.0 anamorphic coming for smartphones, looks like it's going to be for iPhone only. But so if you're an iPhone user, that's a pretty exciting thought, isn't it? To get that real extreme anamorphic is something new, isn't it? But it could just be that they've added it to the Blackmagic camera app just in case someone brings out a 2.0 anamorphic, or maybe it's to be used if you're going to use a depth of field adapter, so you can attach a regular size lens, because there are 2.0 anamorphic regular size lenses. So you could maybe attach it with a depth of field adapter like the Beast Grip one. Haven't looked into that, but that's maybe a possibility. It just seems a little bit unlikely to me, so I would say that the most likely thing is that Blackmagic are going to be making anamorphic lenses. But I don't know. It's just a wild guess. If you have any better information, then drop it down in the comments. Let us all know. Histograms can now be expanded to fill the preview window. So just tap on it and it opens up. Plus you can use the slider to adjust how see-through it is. And I actually thought that these grey circles might allow you to choose a single colour like red, green or blue, but they don't do anything, at least not in my versions, and that's like iOS as well as Android. And finally, we've got the Slate and presets, which can now be opened by tapping the three dots on the left of the preview window. And if you have an Android device, you can also just swipe the screen to open and close this. Now, if you want to learn how to use any camera app, then I've created a course especially for you where I go through all the key core aspects of using any camera app, all the shutter speed, ISO, exposure settings, focus settings, all the important stuff. I've made a whole course that will take you through it from beginner to advanced, and it's over on Patreon. So check that out if you're interested. You no longer have to subscribe to sort of monthly payments. You can just buy all these courses now. But apart from that, thank you to everybody who bought the book, Smartphone Videography, Beginner to Advanced. There's tons of technical stuff in there, as well as plenty of creative stuff for you to get your teeth into, to start turning your smartphone videos into something a lot more professional looking. That's it from me. See you in the next video.